Very rarely do I ever do these solo. It does happen on occasion because sometimes Brandon has things going on and he's got a few things going on in life right now. But you know what? We're still going to have some fun. We're still going to do a flight night. And we got a really cool guest because, we do a lot of bourbon on this show. But this is hops and spirits. I know it's neat and mixed. But at the heart of it, it's spirits. And there are so many different spirits out there in the world. And it's kind of neat to try some of these and learn a little bit more. And I think we're going to get very well educated tonight on something pretty new as we welcome in. He's the founder, master distiller of Kilinga Bacanora. I probably butchered that. Bacanora. And I'm going to say his first name because I don't think I have a chance at all of saying his last name because, as Brandon will tell you, I have a very bad way with words. Let's welcome in Rodrigo.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
Now, how do you say your last name?
Bojórquez.
Yep, wouldn't have got that. No, not a chance.
That's like very super Spanish, as far as I know. But I'm fifth generation Mexican, so that's all the Spanish it's left from that.
I was going to say, I am Jonathan Green, and it is very straightforward. I'm about as basic as you can get. so, now, Rodrigo, we're in for a treat because, like you said, people might be going, what is this thing that we're trying? And in that name is the spirit that we're trying. So, as we get ready for our first pour, I'm actually going to say, for those that are unfamiliar, what is Bacanora?
Bacanora is an agave distillate. It's a mezcal. The word mezcal it comes from the Nahuatl metal ixcali, which means to roast or cook an agave. And that's where the rooting of that word comes from, mezcal. So anything that is derived or distilled from roasted agave and turned into a spirit is a mezcal, basically. So Bacanora is a mezcal as well. And the name Bacanora comes from being, its origins being from the state of Sonora. And to make the Bacanora it's a very specific type of agave that we are allowed to use in order to call it Bacanora, legally call it Bacanora, and that's the native agave species that grows here throughout the state of Sonora, basically, which is it has like high desert, low deserts, and also a lot of coastline and some a little bit more subtropical climates for probably that's the best description for it in the southern part of the state where we're from.
Okay,
and, pardon?
Oh, I was going to say, so when you're talking like the mezcal, so for those of us that drink whiskey and bourbon, all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon, and therefore all certain agave spirits down there are mezcal, but not all things are mezcal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not all mezcals are Bacanora.
I like it. So, and you're talking about your climate down there and everything.
Yeah, it's closer to a mountain range, and so it's got a certain elevations. It rains. It's supposed to rain a little bit more, but it's not that different. But the vegetation is very different. So whenever we get a little bit of rain, it's like magic. Everything blooms and transforms from this dry landscape to like green and luscious, and a lot of flowers spring out, and it's just wonderful. And humid as hell as well. So it just goes from very dry and really cold to very hot, and then really humid when we get the blessing of rain. And a fun fact about Bacanora, it was banned in 1915 till 1995. So there was like a sort of mishap with the government, I believe, back in the day, and also the Catholic Church came on board, and then they decided to ban the making of Bacanora up in the mountains because during the like pre-revolution times and post-revolution times, the government had a hard time handling drunken armed people up in the mountains, I guess, and so they just banned everything and then tried to send the army up there in order to get rid of them, get rid of the traditions that they had in order to make their own drink, like their own spirits up there. Um, but there's quite a few families that kept on making it outside the law, and but in that they kept the tradition alive. And I was fortunate enough to run into um, one of the one of those spirits that was made by one of those families, and I haven't found out who made it yet, but I think I'm closer now. It was I drank it at a friend's house, loved the spirit, and I loved that one, and I just really it got me hooked. It got me rattling my brains in order to start and give it a go at distilling. And but yeah, it was that was well, it has been a fun trip the last about 18 years now.
I love that. For us up here, a little bit of moonshine. Things that happen and keep some traditions going. And it
Yeah.
sounds like you had that down there. And the first pour that we're gonna have is the Silvestre.
Yes, sir.
And can you talk a little bit about what it is and how it, you know, what people should expect with this?
Okay, this is the Silvestre is the name's pretending to like a wild agave, and that's something that grows in the wild. It is. We started off harvesting wild agaves after about the second season. I started noticing that we weren't going to get anywhere because there wasn't enough agave or in order to get something worthwhile going and just harvest from the wild. So we implemented a program in order to produce seed from those wild agaves and then put them in the field at the ranch and mimic the conditions the conditions where the agave, like similar to where the agave grows and how it grows in the wild, pretending to rain and well the temperature and all that is there, but it just whenever there's a drought we'll let them suffer through that, and then no weeding or anything like that takes place. It's just all natural cycles in order to achieve these. And this is an agave that is harvested a little bit younger. We usually harvest our agaves at around 9 to 12 years for our Blanco, but for the Silvestre, we harvest them at 7. The agave is already matured. It's getting ready to reproduce. So just a little bit prior to that, we select them and process them. And the whole point of this is to have a younger plant is when you have a very ripe fruit versus one that it's good, it's very good, but it's not quite there. So it's a little bit tart and maybe tangy, and it has different flavors to give. And so I was playing around with different aspects of the agave at different maturities and this and that, and I arrived to this expression. It has a very vibrant, herbaceous, floral deal going on that I've been told by more than a few people that it's almost sips as a gin because it's got like a very wide array of flavors and aromas playing around there. And this is I find it to be very fun to drink, and it's very fun to watch like mixologists and bartenders just play around with it as if it were a gin, or like to do it like if it were like an agricole rum or something like that, something that is earthy and herbal and just has a different herbaceous aspects going on. And they've come up with great concoction for it. So this is our Silvestre. Hope you enjoy it.
As soon as you mentioned that, some people kind of compare it to a gin because it kind of lit the light bulb, because I was going, I get that tanginess, but there was a lot of herbal notes, kind of floral type things, which is kind of what takes you back to a gin, but it's got a lot of body and a lot, like, for a guy that doesn't know what he's doing, me, when I say guy, I got going into something like this, not having tried a lot of different things like this. This is
and
delightful.
it has that vibe when you're harvesting like green agaves. When you're harvesting, there when you're cutting the sort of the how do you say the when you cut it, some of the juice of the agave sprays out into the air, and you can smell like a certain sort of pepperiness to it, like if you would bite into like a capsicum, like a green pepper, not spicy, not hot, just that green sort of flavor and smell that you can associate to a green pepper, and it's got that certain touch there from that younger agave express, like the younger agave expresses all that, and then that's one of the aspects that I found very interesting in this. It tastes like sort of green in your mouth. I for the lack of a better word to describe it.
But like I said, it's for like I said, I was a little nervous getting into these because like I said, I don't normally dive into the mezcal world, and but like I said, it's not like over the top on anything. It's just a nice subtle flavors, but there are a lot of flavors in there, and it's just got a nice mouthfeel and everything. Like I mean my sip is gone already. already.
I
That
was
tells you
I
anything.
was shoot, I was shooting for that. I enjoy smooth, well-rounded drinks as well. I'm very much used to drinking spirits neat, and I wanted to come up with something that would be pleasant to sip on and have a conversation with somebody else, and not be drinking something and making all kinds of faces. Like, not it's roasted with mesquite wood, but it's not overpoweringly smoking. It's got a touch of smoke, like if you would grill a steak on like a gas grill or like a fire pit or like a charcoal pit. It's got with the charcoal or the wood, you're gonna get a touch of smoke that complements the steak. But if it overpowers it, I mean, what's the point of having the steak then?
Yeah. No,
And so
well, and that,
it's supposed to be a complement on the array of the point of the whole thing was it to be a complement for the whole thing.
well, and I think that's what as you were talking, that's the one thing I totally, think of a tequila or something like that. You kind of get that harsh burn, but it was smooth, very, very smooth. And, for those that are going, okay, so you said it's in the mezcal family. All right, the only thing I might know that's technically in the mezcal family is like a tequila. What's the biggest difference for Bacanora to those other types of mezcals out there?
First and foremost, the agave itself is very particular to the state, and even the agaves that grow in the southern part where we're from have different characteristics than the ones that grow closer to the coast or even further north up in the deserts or up in the mountains, like an higher elevation. It just the soil changes and the climate changes, and there's the stations are some places are hotter than others, some milder, cooler winters, stuff like that make like this certain microclimates that the agave adapts to. And the one that we have here, the land that we own, gets actually during this time of the year, a lot of the fog from the Sea of Cortez will sweep in because the water's still cooler and the weather's getting really hot. So early in the morning, you get a lot of fog that goes into the valley and up a little bit to the mountains where we are, and then we get a lot of that fog too. So there's a certain salinity, sort of mineral aspect to it as well that I try to really accentuate in order to have the particular geographical place that we have to be expressed through our spirit.
Well, and I was gonna say, the terroir, for something like this, I'm guessing plays a big deal. I've had Sotal and some other kind of mezcal, offshoots that are kind of unknown to probably a lot of other folks, and boy, does that change so much. And so when you're talking about that, I'm guessing that's just like up here for corn, stuff grown in different places, going through a different climate just tastes different and brings different flavors. So was it kind of fun playing with the terroir and kind of how the growing season went for y'all?
It was not at the beginning though, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was all over the place, and it took me a while to figure it out. A lot of trial and error, a lot of reading, and after I hit a wall, I mean, I couldn't find anything new. I went ahead and I took a master mezcalier course, went to Oaxaca, spent a bunch of time there, just working alongside with some palenqueros and trying to learn from them different techniques on fermenting and how they chose their water, like the water quality, the amount of time that they would ferment, because they have a milder climate there, and how they would adjust to hotter days or hotter weeks even, and some of the rainy days, how the different yeast act and everything. It's just a lot of things that throw you screwballs, right? And so I got there. I learned that there were a lot of variables, and instead of when I came back, instead of trying to tackle them, it was more of a play along with them, and just write them out. Like, okay, the climate wants to do this. Just know how everything's gonna behave, and just guide it like through the right path, in order to achieve what I wanted to express. And after I figured some of that out, it got a lot of fun, because it's been always days of discovery. I mean, there's something always figuring something out, but there's some other times that there's like big steps that you were like, wow, this is so, like, in my mind it was very complicated. It ended up to being the most simple solution. It was like in front of my nose, and I couldn't find it. So but it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a journey.
Well, I was gonna say, so far it's a tasty journey, and I'm excited to try the next one. We got the Blanco coming in at 42% ABV, 84 proof for us. The Silvestre was 40% ABV, 80 proof for those of us that know that system. So what can you tell us about the Blanco and how it differs from the Silvestre and everything?
The Blanco is made from agaves that are from anywhere from 9 to 12 years old. Now they're matured. They are agave capon. If you're familiar with that term, that means that the agave, when it's ready to reproduce, it shoots off a stalk from the middle, and that'll bloom, turn into flowers, and then seed pods. So when that thing starts to appear, we cut it off, so it's sort of castrating the plant. We cut it off in order to prevent it from reproducing, because it's going to use all the energy, which is in the form of sugars and starch inside the plant, and that's what we need to make alcohol. So we prevent it from shooting out, and then we let it sit in the ground for another 9 months. So all of that, the life that is left in the plant is gonna like keep eating, and then getting thicker, and more sugar and more starch is getting stored. And then when we finally harvest, some of those sugars, when we cook the agave, some of those sugars get caramelized, and then those are some of the flavors that come through with our Blanco. It's like a toasty, caramelly sort of taffy toasty kind of vibe going there, and it plays along with a touch of smoke that comes through with the mesquite as well.
I was gonna say, just off the nose, it's a totally different start compared to the Silvestre.
It is. Have you had a sip yet? Because I don't want to influence your your tasting.
Yeah, that going from the young to the mature brings a
Mm-hmm.
whole different group of flavors in.
Mm-hmm. And this is a tad sweeter. That has like a sweet hue in the background. It's not sweet. It doesn't have any sugar in it. It's just that toasty sort of almost. I don't want to say vanilla, but it's just that caramelly vibe going that fools your palate into thinking that it's sweet.
I was gonna say because the other one kind of was to me a little more herbal, herbal, floral type feel. This one is not that at all, and you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
almost like you said. This, if you're going down one path, you're now down another, and it just goes to show you how much things can change with just a few different years on the
Mm-hmm.
plant, a few different things like that, and it's again and again very smooth, very, you don't need. You don't need to take a shot of this and need the lime. You can just sip on this all night. All night.
Yes, definitely not. And they both this one's got a little more character. It's a little bit bolder, but they both have like they linger in your palate. And as we keep this conversation going, some of that air is going to go into your mouth, oxidize all the different elements that the spirit has, and it'll as they oxidize and mix with your saliva, they'll keep blooming and giving you different notes.
Well, and I'm excited to kind of just keep going down this path with these different pours. But you talked a little bit about this at the start, where you had tasted a Bacanora and really liked it and kind of went down the rabbit hole. But what made you decide to start Kilinga? Because like you said, it wasn't like Bacanora it got fully legalized again in like 2000. It was,
Mhm.
unlike some other things, it wasn't exactly super well known. So what made you decide to start and go down this?
I guess mere curiosity. I had some agaves planted at the ranch because I was thinking about harvesting them and selling them because we have a cattle ranch and I was looking for a different means of income. And I had that one that I really enjoyed, and I had the agaves, and something in my mind said, "What's the worst that can happen, right?" Well, here we are, 17 years later with this thing, and I haven't been able to let it go.
And you learned a lot along the way.
Oh yeah, it's been a learning experience, for wow, 18 years now. But it's been a lot of fun, and it was mere curiosity. It got to a point that I it kept hitting like not dead ends, but different barriers. Like the branding in order to go to the States. The branding that we have here in Mexico wouldn't work in the state because it was already registered, and then we came up with the Kilinga name. This is my mother's nickname, by the way. It's some mispronunciation of Kelinda. When she was a little girl, people that would go to my grandparents' house, they would say Kelinda niña, how cute, oh what a cute girl, and she thought that was her name, Kelinda. So next time somebody asked her name was Kilinga. So that stuck, and now nobody knows her real name, just Kilinga all over town. And yeah, that's the story behind the naming. And yeah, when we decided to launch it into the States was the pandemic hit, so that was another learning experience for everybody, I guess. But I very very much remember ours, and that's actually where all of this came from. The design, the like the floral and the whole well, the naming and then the whole design came after it, and that was about 2 years of research and development that we have to um, go through and endure, as we all did during the pandemic. A lot of meetings through Zoom and just wouldn't stop working.
Well, I was gonna say, that the R&D, and you've kind of talked about it along the way because, like you said, you played around, you learned a lot. But as you kind of continue to go, and now that you have some stuff that's been planted for a while, that your knowledge base has grown, how much R&D continues on for you? Because I'm guessing you still want to kind of play around with this, because once you go down a rabbit hole, I don't feel like you're coming back out for a while.
I still do a lot. There is in the nom that we have, there is like a special niche that you can how do you say it, distill with certain things that are very typical to the Sonoran desert, like different berries, sort of berries or certain fruits that come out with the rainy seasons, and things like that. I still experiment a lot with either like more expressions that the same plant can give off at these different stages of development of the plant. And yeah, I do. I have a lab. Actually, I have a bunch of bottles there labeled, and I'll do like different provings and different distillation rates and different filtration methods and such, in order like different water qualities, because mineralization through fermentation expresses a whole bunch of different things. So I do a lot of that, and I do a lot of trying to sort of implement different fruits that grow here that the non permits, and I do aging as well. We have a repo and we have an añejo as well, and yeah, I keep on going and sort of testing as well my own palate and my nose, for it, and that's just like exercising almost every day. It's I mean, I don't go into the lab every day that I'm at the distillery, but I'll probably give it 3-4 days out of the week, which is a good workout.
Well, and it's kind of funny because you mentioned, you had the ranch there and everything. Did you ever think you were going to be this deep into science and biology and all this
Hell
stuff?
no. Well, I majored in animal sciences from the U of A, back in 2003 or so. So I was pretty familiar with biology and a little bit of chemistry and all that, but I was supposed to raise cattle, I guess, and I'm doing that, and we do farming as well, and now I'm doing the Kilinga thing, which is.
I was gonna say, sounds like you're busy.
I have to juggle a lot of different hats, I guess.
Well, but I guess it works out well. You get the farming done in the day and have a little nice drink at the end of the night, and
Oh yeah.
as you were talking.
Well, I get to farm with the agaves as well, so it's sort of tomato kind of thing.
Well, and like I said, so far you're 2 for 2 on things that I've enjoyed, and you talk about doing some aging and different things.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give the Reposado a try, coming in at 40% ABV and 80 proof. So tell us a little bit about the Reposado.
The Repo is it's sort of a Frankenstein of mine, because I didn't want to make it. My friend Ramon, which he's the director of the company now, he was I was Bacanora is traditionally made like clear. That's it, and he kept saying that there was a market for Reposado, and I would adhere to the strict, like a very strict tradition of making just Bacanora Blanco, and that's it. So he kept on bothering me with the subject, and I said, okay, I'm gonna come up with something, but it's gonna take me a while, because this whole thing started because I was curious about making a nice sipping Bacanora, but it was made for my taste. Like, I don't know if you get what I mean. it was supposed to not leave my home. It started as a hobby. It wasn't ever intended to be sold. So it was a very personal sort of part of my like
It was your baby.
likings and yeah. So I said I'm gonna tackle it the same way. So I went in, purchased some barrels that had bourbon in them. Some of them had Caribbean rum in them. Some had red wine from Baja California. They were American oak, French oak, and different in different mix and match sort of situations. And I started checking the development of each and every one of them under the temperatures that we have here in the state, well, in southern Sonora. And to make a long story short, after almost 3 years, I came up with what you just had. It's a blend of different casks that had different things in them, and then I put Bacanora in them for three plus years, 3.5 years, and then that development had their own uniqueness, and then I blended them in a way that they would round everything up a little bit better, and then that it was fun to drink. That it had an experience that you had like a little bit of a wow factor that you wouldn't expect different notes that it has, and so yeah, I come to a point that I really enjoyed this drink, and we started bottling.
And it's another. I think what I love about this and your approach is one agave plant, three totally different flavor expressions that you're getting because of what you're doing, and I love the Reposado. I don't know, it's got a lot going on in there, and it's very flavorful. It sticks around, and just again, like I said, something totally different than even just the Blanco. But that's where it came. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these things all came from there.
And also when you have it, you get amongst all of those beautiful notes, you get the agave lets you know that it's right there. It's like right up front and center.
Like that. It's fascinating to see what you did. So, and this is another product that obviously you're continuing to build, but again, that R&D that you put into things really comes through because, like I said, three totally different pours, three very flavorful pours, but they still have the same heart. You know what I mean? Like the same. You can tell that maybe they're siblings of some sort.
Yeah, it's something that for sure I hold very dear to my heart. It's very personal, as I mentioned to me. It's something that I didn't know I was going to enjoy spending time on developing as much as I do, and it's so well. It started to become a conversation. Started with friends and family, and now I got the fortune that my family, my siblings, my sisters, and my parents became my partners in crime in this whole thing, and so it was a conversation started. Now it's a reason to get together, and get together more often. We're a very family oriented people, or family oriented family.
You like each other. You
we,
like each
we
other. It's
always,
weird.
we're always procuring each other, and just we're very tight. We're very together all the time to help each other out, and now we're partners in this venture, and they enjoy it as much as I do, I guess.
Well, I'm enjoying every bit of this as well, and you talked about it's one thing to make it down there, sell it down in Mexico. It's another to bring it to the States, and like you said, it's fun to try to bring things here. There's not just one barrier. There's a bunch to get it throughout the U.S. And what made you want to bring this to the U.S. and kind of just see what people's reaction would be here?
Well, First, there was I kept hearing, well, and reading different articles that the U.S. was what he still is the biggest consumer of agave spirits in the world. We are fairly close to the United States. We're a lot closer than Jalisco. The state of Sonora has a lot of familiarity with the state of Arizona, New Mexico, and California, especially Southern California. So there's a lot of familiarity. You know, a lot of people that I know that went to school with me that are either residing in Arizona, California, or in New Mexico, some in Nevada, some Colorado. I mean, that part of the U.S. And I kept hearing that how much they enjoyed like certain mezcal bars and tequila bars and or agave oriented cocktail developing and this and whatnot. And here it came to a point that the government taxes the hell out of us. We sell it here. There's an ongoing battle there in order for the government, the federal government, to look our way and just back off for a little bit because it's not letting little brands like ours and some that are a bit smaller the government doesn't let them take off. And we're a great source of income for a lot of families in the farms and the distillery and the whole area. And so that being said, part of what made us make the final decision to go, it was the taxing and the whole tax law here in Mexico. So we started sort of searching around where to start in the U.S. and the first approach we did was through California, and in a couple of years later we ended up in New York and Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We have a presence in Chicago, and I might be forgetting somewhere. I hope I don't upset anybody, but my memory is failing me right now. But yeah, it's we've grown quite a bit in the States, and it's but the main reason was we were getting choked here in Mexico, and our next step was either to choke to death or take a leap of faith and go to our neighboring country. And it's been well received. It's been well received. I always love watching somebody take their first sip of our Bacanora and look at their face going like, I wasn't expecting this.
That was me. That was me tonight because, you think, like I said, for us, tequila is probably the most common thing that we ever have. Mezcal is, starting to take a little bit of a hold, but those two don't compare to this at all because, mezcal's got the very smoky flavor. Tequila, especially on the blancos and stuff, can be very harsh, at least to me. But these ones were smooth all the way around, very flavorful. Like you said, these are good drinks to sip. And like you said, what's the response been like when you've given those people those first sips? Is it like me tonight, going, "Well, that was unexpected"?
Yeah, it's like a pleasant surprise. I guess. Well, I've been told when we do like presentations and pours and different events in the States, there's a lot of people that were thinking that they were going to have another mezcal that is a bit harsh, a little bit like a touch smokier than they were expecting, and this and that, and that's not what I enjoy. So I enjoy smooth, well-rounded drinks. So as I told someone one day, that we fall into the category of being like in between a mezcal and tequila. If tequila is not your thing anymore, I don't know, because of whatever, you drank too much of it, or like, I don't know, you gotta let that one go for a little bit and have something else in order to go back to it. Maybe I don't know, but we are like right in between. We are quite a bit more complex than a tequila, or than most tequilas I've had, and then we're not at that level of punchy, smoky, alcoholic, like a very bright alcoholic sensation that you get from a lot of mezcals. Just was just like right in between. It's right in between where you can have your palate have an adventure without burning the hell out of it.
You know, that is spot on because, like I said, that's to me what I think of the most, and why sometimes I struggle to go to, you know, when we travel and stuff, because I love trying new things, but the mezcals have still gotten me to be too smoky, and tequila I found a few reposados and añejos that I like, but you got to put a little work into tequila. The Silvestre and the Blanco are fantastic, you know, and the Reposado is a fun ride as well, you know. But also, I think something cool that you do, you put all this work into this, but you also make sure you're doing it in a sustainable way. Why has that been a big part of what y'all do? Because I'm guessing, you know, when you're talking about a plant that has to hit a few years, well, maybe more than a few years old to you know, be used, you got to be careful with what you're using.
Well, the whole sustainability thing, it's an old practice for us, but a new term at the same time. It turns out that it's been I don't know, it's like embedded in my family's culture. It's been never take more than the land has to offer. Don't ravage the land. Be a steward of the land. Be the carer for it, and leave it better. Leave it better for the next generation than the condition you found it in. So under that philosophy, we have a very healthy plot of land. And then again, I noticed that I was doing a number on the land, stopped, and even put I have a program where I grow mesquite, because we use mesquite wood. So I plant in every year, we plant in new mesquites, and the ones that we harvest, we don't like cut them off, we prune them. We take some of the branches off and off to the next one. So in 2-3 years, it'll have big enough. That one will have big enough branches to offer again. With the agaves, we started harvesting wild seeds in order to put them into a greenhouse for them to sprout and make new agaves, but they have the same genetic composition of the wild ones, because the bats come from different parts of the mountains and the different parts of the southern part of the United States, and they cross pollinate these agaves here. That's what makes these agaves here very particular, and so we kept that going, and that's why we mimic how they grow in the wild, and we do the whole thing, and it's 7 to 10 and 12 year cycles for that. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of caring for it. But if we do monoculture, first and foremost, drink's not going to be as exciting. And monocultures usually wreak havoc on the land, and then you get problems with different animal populations, either from insects, reptiles, to mammals and whatnot, and birds and everything. So it's just a part of like, don't mess with it. It's fine as it is. Let nature take its course, and just don't mess around in order to find out, right?
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you've passed along some lessons that you've had making the Bacanora to doing what you know with the land and Rodrigo, and this has been fantastic, and I am with you when you talk about the folks that are just kind of shocked, because like I said, I don't know what I was expecting, but you know, kind of when you open the bottle, you're like, okay, that's different. I don't know where we're headed,
Yeah.
but it's been a fun ride, and like I said, very flavorful, all very different types of things. I went back to the Blanco and had the Reposado just to see how the aging process, and it's two totally different pours, but again, very flavorful, very, you can tell what you can find some different notes in there, and I'm just impressed with what you've been able to bring back to life in a sense.
And if you get a chance, have some cool black coffee, and then swirl it around your mouth, like when you try a perfume, when you smell the coffee beans, it's sort of to neutralize your palate, and then have the Bacanora it's gonna hit you in a different way.
Well, I can't wait
It's always a fun thing to ask people to do, but you have to wait for the coffee to cool down in order not to have your taste buds kind of burn a little bit. So if you have some cool coffee laying around, just give it a sip, get that acidity and all that, cleanse your palate, and then give it a go again. And that works for your bourbon as well, or any spirits. It just helps you start from a clean slate.
Well, I can't wait to give that a try. My wife loves cold coffee. It's kind of funny. We give her, a hard time about that. She brews it, has to let it sit for about an hour, and then she can go after it. So, but as we're wrapping up, you mentioned a lot of the places. I'm guessing if you go to the website, folks can find out more information on where Kilinga Bacanora is sold. But what else do you have in store? Because it sounds like you're having some fun in the lab. What can you tell us? I know you had an añejo as well. So what other things are you trying to get to, maybe, or at least that you can tell us? Like, say, hey,
Have you ever had a mesquite meal?
I have not.
Like meal, like flour.
Uh-uh.
It's that from the mesquite gives off some like vines.
Okay.
Where the mesquite seeds go. They have a earthy, sweet taste to them. And I'm working something with that as we speak. Well, I had a surgery in my nose about a week ago, so I'm not allowed to go to the ranch yet. But I was starting to do that when I got into surgery. But I'm totally convinced that there's something very interesting that I can find there, and I'll make sure to give you a heads up and get a sample to you, see what you think.
I can't wait to see that, because, like I said, I love what you've done so far, because it truly is something that I don't think anyone's going to expect, even after hearing me talk about it. Because, like I said, the initial smells are like, okay, maybe this is something that I might be interested in, maybe not. But once you get the pours, they're fantastic. And also, I just love the fact that you're doing literally everything on the ranch. Up here, the estate whiskeys are kind of becoming a big thing, where everything's grown in one plot of land. And to see you doing that with the mesquite that you're using, just to cook the agave to everything else is just kind of extra fascinating. And Rodrigo, man, cheers to doing something really fun.
Thank you. Cheers to you.
Cheers.